All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. As the Pac 12 and Mountain West conferences have been in the midst of mediation over multiple lawsuits revolving around poaching, the clock is ticking for the Pacific 12 to find its eighth football member. Now, once Oregon State and Washington State assumed control of the Pac 12 from the other 10 departing schools a couple of years ago, they also sought out to rebuild the conference. They've gotten San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State, Utah State, and Colorado State all to leave the Mountain West to join them, while Gonzaga is bidding farewell to the West Coast Conference in favor of the new Pac 12. And all of the newbies to the Pac 12 just signed their grants of rights yesterday with an eye on a new media deal that is expected in the very near future. And once that media deal is done for the Pac 12, they are expected to go after their eighth full time member, which needs to be in place by next July, or else the plans of Washington State and Oregon State to rebuild and revive the once Conference of Champions would go up in smoke. But you look at it, as far as the mediation goes, the current talks between the Pac 12 and Mountain West have been and continue to be under lock and key. One thing we know, the departing Mountain West schools have been looking to lower their exit fees for leaving the conference. And of course, the Mountain West is saying not so fast. Okay. So we got to see what happens there. But nonetheless, we know that the Pac 12 needs themselves one more full time member. Don't expect it to come from the Mountain West, which takes UNLV out of the equation. Or does it? The grants of rights that was signed by the remaining Mountain West schools, which runs through 2032. And of course, you've got to think about the willingness of the Mountain West to give UNLV a sweeter and a bigger taste of the gate in order for them to remain in the league. But could UNLV still be swayed to leave the Mountain West? Got to wait and see. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. Okay. But nonetheless, after the departing five schools from the Mountain West have officially given their notice, the exit fees for anybody else that would want to jump ship would double at this point. So I really don't see anybody from the Mountain West that's still in the Mountain West, at least, following suit. We know that the Pac 12 still needs one more dance partner. So the questions are going to be, is it going to be Texas State, UTSA, Tulane, or Memphis? Or is it going to be a combination of these four schools? I'll say like this in regards to Memphis. Memphis makes a lot of sense, but you're not going to get Memphis to leave the American Athletic Conference if you're the Pac 12 all by their lonesome. Okay. That's number one, because Memphis, and they have a legit gripe here as far as geographical travel. You'd have to make it worth their while. And I feel like the best way for the Pac 12 to do that, they got to go out there and sweeten the pot financially for Memphis, first and foremost, as well as giving them at least one more dance partner. I think, logically, it would have helped if you're the Pac 12 to say, hey, you know what, we've got UNLV on board, like from a basketball standpoint, that would definitely or could possibly entice Memphis to go. And I'm just throwing it out there. But then also getting a Tulane and a UTSA, would that, sway a Memphis to go to the Pac 12? We've got to wait and see. I feel like, and this is just from an outsider's perspective, I feel like Texas State is probably a fallback option for the Pac 12 in order to get the league to eight full time members by next July. But I think Teresa Gold and company, I really feel that they're swinging for the fences on this whole thing. And I'm going to circle back to that. But nonetheless, the Pac 12, they still need their media deal, and of course, they're expected to get it taken care of. And they wanted to get that taken care of before they went out there and got themselves a another member. Okay, and from the sounds of things that we're hearing out there, that media deal appears to be around the bend. I think you could somewhat read the tea leaves on this because we know that the CW re-upped for Washington State and Oregon State games here in 2025, and of course you've got CBS also on board, and then ESPN. I'll tell you like this: from what the sounds of things, it sounds like it could be four media partners uh, for the Pac-12 going forward, and I think this is a perfect storm for them because I talked about this on this platform with a good pal of mine, Mark Jenkins, a while back. You've got all of that money from Turner that's just sitting there, being that due to the fact that they lost the NBA, and of course, you're not going to give the Pac-12 NBA type money, no, but you've got that war chest to deal with, and there's a lot of networks not named ESPN where you can go out there and showcase your product on. And, it's all about getting your product in as many homes as possible. The CW is doing that for you. If you think about CBS, they've basically got, one Big Ten game every Saturday, but they've still got other windows that they can fill. You can fill a window with TNT, and of course, there's a possibility of maybe streaming with ESPN as well. So if you're the Pac-12, you can get the finances from multiple resources, and I think that is going to be a huge coup for this league going forward. And I also think it's going to be enticing to other schools. I'm just throwing it out there. So the thing is, will Teresa Gold be able to finish delivering on restoring the Pac-12 as the clock is ticking? I absolutely, truly think so because you look at it, and it's one of those where when everybody decided to bolt the Pac-12, and they just left Washington State and Oregon State holding the bag, and everybody, really just thought Washington State and Oregon State were going to throw in the towel. They clearly have not. They have fought, scrapped, and clawed, and gone about their business in their attempts to restore or like at least revive the Pac-12. Some people felt, well, they were just going to suck it up and join the Mountain West. Oregon State and Washington State said no. There was talks of maybe there would just be a reverse merger and have everybody from the Mountain West join the Pac-12. Oregon State and Washington State said no once again. Okay. And they were able to cherry pick, if you will, who they wanted out of the Mountain West to join their league. They're at 7. Okay. You bring in a basketball powerhouse like a Gonzaga. And what you're doing if you are the Pac-12, you are in essence stacking the deck in your attempts to be the best non-power conference out there for football. And I think we got to wait and see the next step. I think, and this is why I think the Pac-12 is going media deal here first. Just my thought is that hey, they're sitting back and looking at this and saying, let's show the money as far as how much money each member is going to get. And I think that's going to raise some eyebrows, or they're hoping that it's going to raise some eyebrows from the other non-power schools. So if you're a Memphis in the American and you sit back and see, well, I can get more money if I dance with these guys over here, then maybe, that's going to be the case. A UNLV, they're going to get a bigger taste of the gate, like I said before, in the Mountain West because that was, their incentive to stay there. But I think what I truly do feel, okay, that the Pac-12 wants Memphis, and it's one of those they couldn't agree on paying for the exit fees before from the American, this, that, and the third. But I feel like they're going to try to make it as impossible for Memphis not to say no because I feel like they're going to go out there. It's going to be 2 of 3. I truly do think so. Okay, if I was a betting man, whether it's UTSA, Texas State, and Tulane, to try to lure Memphis to play ball with them. And I think once the numbers come out, and I think if the numbers are enticing enough, the Pac-12, the new Pac-12, would definitely have some life and some juice to it. Just my thoughts on it right there. It's one of those where you got some schools out there that are probably hoping uh, for that coveted Big 12 invite. And I'm here to say, listen, it's a possibility. Okay. And there's probably schools in the Mountain West and the new Pac 12 that would love that. But it's not a guarantee because you look at it as of right now. We got the Big 10 at 18. We've got both the SEC and Big 12 at 16. And we've got the ACC at 17. As of right now, it sounds like all of those big conferences are content because do they really want to bring somebody else in that they have to sit up there and share the plate with? And I think that's the biggest thing. I know that the folks in UNLV are probably trying to hold out for a Big 12 invite. It's not a guarantee that it's going to come. It could come, but it's not a guarantee. It's one of those I feel like this time around, I like with these new media deals for all of the big leagues, they're probably all sitting back and looking at the logistics of it and sitting back and saying, "Hey, let the smoke clear. Let's see how everybody gets acclimated." Because basically, we almost have a coast to coast Big 12 conference at this point. The SEC has taken on Texas and Oklahoma, and of course, if they add somebody, it's going to be a big player. I talked about this before with the Big Ten when they added SC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. They could have had Stanford and Cal if they wanted to, and they chose not to. And I think the Big Ten, unless they really have to, and I mean really have to, if one of these other power conferences were to fold, a la an ACC, I think they're good with 18. Okay. So when it's all said and done, folks out there might be holding out for invites that may never come. Okay. I'm just throwing it out there. So nonetheless, it's one of those. I really do think the Pac 12 is in the process of attempting to leverage themselves as the best non power conference and almost leverage themselves in a way to say, hey, we basically can get that de facto bid, if you will, from the group of six or group of five for the college football playoff each and every year. So they can throw it out there. I'm just saying. So I'm looking at it like this. This is the next big domino that is going to fall on the college football landscape because it is going to shape a lot of things for a lot of different leagues. You look at the Mountain West, and they have attempted under Gloria Navarez, to hold their footing as much as possible. Losing Colorado State, San Diego State, Boise, Utah State, um, that's big. Okay, and we've seen the Mountain West. They're bringing in Grand Canyon for basketball. You're bringing in UC Davis. You're making Hawaii a full-time member, and you're bringing in UTEP in your attempts to hold on, as well as Northern Illinois for football. For Memphis, how many big-time tag team partners are they going to have left in the American when the dust settles on this? That's going to be another question right there. So I'm looking at it right, like I said, this is going to be the next big domino in the world of collegiate athletics. And I'll also tell you like this: do not be surprised when the Pac-12 when their Pac-12's media deal is officially done and they get at least their eighth football member. And I think at this point it's probably going to be 8 and 9. Don't be surprised if they go out there and get St. Mary's to join as well. Because what they're trying to do, they're trying to leverage themselves, of course, not just for football, but also basketball. You think about it. San Diego State got to the Final Four a couple of years ago. We know what Gonzaga has meant to the basketball scene for more than a quarter century under head coach Mark Few. And you think about those battles that the Zags have had in the West Coast Conference with the Gales of St. Mary. So I think the Pac 12, they're trying to come at it from multiple aspects. And I think the grants of rights was big. And I think they signed the grants of rights because they know that the media deal is right around the bend. And of course, they clearly know something that most of us don't know because they're keeping it under, lock and key for the most part. And I totally get it. Totally understand it. It's business. But I think they are going to get at least one more school to stay in business. And again, it's one of those where if it's a Texas school, they're definitely going to try to get two to have, so that Texas school, excuse me, could have at least one more dance partner to deal with. But nonetheless, It's all about leverage. It's all about leveraging yourself in the business world. And this is what the Pacific 12 is looking to do. It's all about survival in the name of college football. And of course, it's all about those conference commissioners bringing in as much money as possible for their respective members. It's been a battle, and credit to Washington State and Oregon State for not throwing in the towel. And they vowed to rebuild this league. They are on the verge of being back in business full time. And like I said, we just got to play the waiting game right now to see who else is going to dance with the Pac-12 at their party. So the name of the game is money. That's what talks. The grants of rights is here for the Pac-12. So let's see how much longer it will take for them to get their media deal so they could be officially back in business. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out for thanking all of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, please feel free to hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. It is greatly appreciated. Trust me. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports. Like I always say, you give me that follow, I'll give you that follow right back. And the same goes for Instagram, where you could check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, you can check us out on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.